Hello, my name is Malcolm Payne, and I'm delighted to make a contribution to your conference today on the theme of connections and connectedness. This is a really important idea in social work, and I want in particular to talk about the connections between theory and practice. And I start, when I think about this, with the global definition of social work created by the international associations concerned with social work and social work education. There are a lot of things in the definition, but I focus on the three objectives of social work, because you can't understand how you should practice social work unless you can think about your objectives. And the three objectives that the global definition provides for are social change and development, to create social cohesion, and to try to achieve empowerment and liberation of people. That's people collectively and people as individuals and in their families and communities. All of these objectives are about creating connections between people and improving the social networks of people in their families, communities, and their society, and connect the connections, the networks between organizations in society. And increasingly we talk about the idea of social capital. The idea of social capital is that the more links you have, the more chance you have of having a satisfying set of relationships and a satisfying life. So if we take that and look at social work with that idea in mind, you can see that connectedness is an important idea in all kinds of social work. And it's an important idea in doing social work and using ideas in social work. But when I talk to people about using ideas, using theory in their practice, or indeed how their practice makes them think of the ideas that social work is involved with, I very often get this picture, which is rather like there are two countries. There's theory over there, and there's practice over there, and there's this bridge between them, which has to connect them in some way, and there's a long distance to travel. Well, I suggest that we have not set up social work very well by creating these different groups of people, of practitioners and managers of services, and theoreticians and researchers who create ideas which should apply to practice. There is overlap. People do make connections, but the connections don't work very well. And so I think one of the things we must try to do is to find ways in which practice, experience, and wisdom from practice can have an influence on theoretical ideas, and that theoretical ideas can be grasped by practitioners in ways that are useful to them. I see that there is not one social work, but there are a range of social works which try to achieve rather different conceptions of what social work is all about. And you find these different conceptions of social work in different parts of the world with different emphases, and that is because the political and cultural history of those different parts of the world have led us to different kinds of social work. So I identify currently 4 social works that are around the world and having some influence on how we're thinking about what we do. The first is what we call social work, and this is a set of concepts in which we try to help and care for people in an interpersonal way using all sorts of techniques. It concerns relationships and the developments of social capital in fairly small communities and in interpersonal relationships. A second view of social work is what I call social assistance. So this is very much a service delivery sort of approach to social work, and is particularly typical of countries where there's a welfare state. In other words, the state takes responsibility for quite a range of social welfare provision. It doesn't exclude the social work help, because very often people need to be helped to use social services and to make the services relevant to their personal needs. The third concept, also European, and in some ways much more widespread than that, is what the Europeans call social pedagogy. And in some European countries, this is a separate social profession from social work. You have social workers and you have social pedagogues. And this is a conception of social work which is about education. It's about helping people learn to be successful members of their community. The fourth area of social work, fourth kind of social work that we have, is increasingly influential and important, and it's generally called social development. And it's particularly strong in Asia and Africa. And what social development tends to do is to say helping and caring is not enough. Yes, you need that available. Providing assistance and services to people, yes, you need that too, and you need it to be available. And educating people is good. It increases their capacity to contribute to society. But it's not enough, because the society has to organize itself in order to enable people to make these contributions to social capital. And it's about getting people to come together to make those contributions and to change the society so that it will develop those contributions. And what we're seeing in recent years is an explosion of theoretical development in Asian countries and in African countries to try and reconceptualize social work away from the traditional views of community development and the traditional social works of social work, social assistance, and social pedagogy. And these new, what I call 21st century perspectives on social development are very much more concerned with how the society is changing, guiding, directing, pushing, shifting the developments that are going on. Social change and social development comes about because of economic demands and global changes in the world. And you think about climate change and environmental change. This is a global shift in thinking which is going on, which social work and social assistance and social pedagogy and social development is part of, but it's not the only driver. And you think about human rights and responding to those, and you think about, in particular, the position of women and inequalities in their position. And the reason why there's been an emphasis on women is partly theoretical. It comes from feminist movements, but it's also an immensely practical movement, because women form an important economic base which is neglected in conventional economic thinking. They create an economy which is based on the social and which is not taken account of in ideas of economic development and physical development in societies. So what you're getting is an explosion of conceptualizations which want to shift the talk towards how we can develop connections which respond to the issues which people are seeing as really important globally. And this is why international social work has begun to shift from trying to get people to respond to the ideas that have come from social work and social assistance and social pedagogy, to think more about how all social work can respond to the global issues that as societies and that as human beings we all face. And to suggest that social professions can't make the only contribution, they can't even make the running, but they make an important contribution because they have this conceptualization of social concern, releasing, empowering, liberating people to take part in social development and to contribute to social change. Not to make social change, not to direct social change, but to be a part of social change. And it makes a connection between the ideas that we get from social work, social assistance, and social pedagogy with the ideas that we must create shifts in the way we achieve social development. Well, thank you for listening to that, and I do wish you a successful conference in thinking about these and many other ideas which contribute to building connections within social work.